This morning, when I got into the shower, I had what these civilians across the globe call shower thoughts. Now, what first came to mind was the time that I got pink eye. And this led me to thinking of the pop artist Pink, which later led to me thinking about how profound I find the lyrics to Try to Be. Now, let me give you a story to truly show how profound the lyrics to Try are. There's this buddy of mine, and a few weeks ago, he came up to me, and he said, "Eric, I want your opinion on something. Do you think I should ask this girl out?" And what I should have told him is, where there is desire, there's gonna be a flame. And where there's a flame, someone is bound to get hurt. Think about that. When you desire something, there's gonna be fire, passion in your heart. But at the end of the day, an open flame brings great consequences, brings the opportunity for pain. But just because it burns doesn't mean you're gonna die. So my fellow, you gotta get up and try. Now, this story that I just gave to you, this anecdote to truly show how profound these lyrics are, it's based on some truth. This dude, who I'm not the biggest fan of, asked me this question I don't understand why he chose to ask me. However, I, looking out for my fellow man, knowing that this girl was talking shit about him to me and a whole bunch of other people, I don't remember when, but sometime during physics, and that he was gonna get burned, without a doubt, I told him to not try. I alerted him of the dangers. And similar to Pokemon, there are many dangers to playing on the sheet. Playing for tournaments like SPL. If you have a bad sheet record, there's going to be users like Shake It Up, there, ready, at all times, to bully you. But where there's this desire to play, you gotta risk. You gotta risk losing. You gotta risk Shake It Up making fun of you. So that brings us to my week 2 SPL game, which I performed honorably against Rob Jr. I'm psycho. Okay. Okay. So I decided to load something pretty standard, but with me, I will never truly load something completely standard. This is my take on Big 5 Arrow, a very good team. This tar set, it hits Skarmory for enough damage via Focus Punch, however. It's not great at attacking it. Normally you'll see something like Flamethrower, but I value hitting Blissey with Focus Punch, which also hits Skarmory. Alternative, something like Roar would not hit Skarmory as well. Grass hits Pert, which I believe is very important, and Crunch and Pursuit are self-explanatory. I really like this Blissey set. Yeah, I don't have much more to say about it. Something worth noting is if Dugtrio traps it, at least you can trap the Dugtrio with Tyranitar. If it traps it using Beat Up and not Earthquake, that is. Which isn't too helpful for everything else, but that's cool synergy that I'd like to mention. I really like the Swampert set here. It does lack against Salamence. However, Roar and Refresh are both great moves and come in handy. Don't want to spend too much time analyzing this. I really like this Gengar set here. I'm really proud of myself for thinking about this. I believe. No, I EV'd it myself. Though I think ABR made the same thing with like 4 EVs difference and then gave it to me right after I made the spread. I really like the set. It does lack a strong Thunderbolt. Its strongest move being Fire Punch isn't the best, however you're mostly relying on coverage, and while you can't hit something like Moltres, you do have Explosion and Hypnosis. Something like Flygon you don't mind putting to sleep, and Flygon's going to be wary of a nice move. And Aerodactyl is an amazing Pokemon. I believe the reason I chose to bring this is because I looked at Sadly Play a few games, who is Rob Jr.'s teammate, and when I think of him, I think of Celebi. I don't know if that's correct, but that is the logic that went into this. Turn 1, Skarmory against Tyranitar. I get a Spike. On the topic of music, Marvin's Room is a really good song. But I get up a Spike, I protect, as him flamethrowing means there's probably not a Magneton. As I switch out to Blissey, I think him Brick Breaking is very unlikely, and with max HP Blissey, I'm in no danger. Unless he's Focus Punch as well. Here I believe I click Thunder Wave, which catches Skarmory, which is really valuable. Here I switch back into Skarmory, which gets me Leftovers recovery and allows me to get my remaining spikes up. Here he reveals Zapdos, and from this point I expect Flygon, Gengar, and Jirachi, however I am not 100% sure on those Pokemon. He clicks Roar, and here I switch out. No need to make a risk, as he roars again. Out comes Aerodactyl, and if he stays in, I want that opportunity to get a Rock Slide. The odds he stays in are really low, but from time to time you have to say, well, there's risk to clicking something else, and people do not play perfectly all the time, and I would argue that staying in there with Zapdos is not even objectively incorrect. So because of that, I just click the safe Rock Slide. I see no reason to take a risk here. And while it's always okay to take a risk, I decided that it was better to be risk adverse in this case. Out comes Skarmory to establish the third layer of spikes as he sends in his own Skarm. Here I believe I switch into Gengar, which is arguably incorrect. Looking at this position, I have 3 spikes. My Skarmory was in, and they have what is surely a Pursuit Tyranitar. Pursuit Tyranitar, with nothing to clear the spikes, is really troublesome into me clicking Roar. And by clicking Roar, I can keep my Gengar safe. So arguably, I should have just kept on roaring around his team, as he likely does not have a great way to break my own Pokemon. Gengar, I have a Pursuit Tyranitar for. Jirachi is likely not much of a threat. In fact, the biggest threat he has is Roar Zapdos with spikes. However, even that is not too big of an issue. If I were to... Well, okay, I can't sack Skarmory and spam Roar. However, even roaring Tyranitar in a few times is nice. However, that's of course luck, and I only get so many chances if I sack Skarmory. But Aerodactyl, Blissey, Swampert, Gengar to an extent, and what's my other Pokemon? Tyranitar, all somewhat pressure Zapdos. And with Wish support, I'm more than okay allowing Zapdos to roar around my Pokemon. And otherwise, as I said, he is not able to apply much offensive pressure. So, with all that given, I don't have much need to really go in guns blazing and try to pressure him with Gengar. I can instead wait it out, and by doing so, I can eliminate the Pursuit Tyranitar, possibly with Skarmory, or maybe lured in to switch in a few times with Gengar, as it is unlikely he has a great switch into Gengar, and he may feel that his hand is forced. And I can use that to chip the Tyranitar to keep my Gengar safe. However, instead I send it in, which has its own benefit of pressuring Skarmory, as him laying spikes is rather annoying. However, there's not too much I can do about it. The Zapdos will eventually force Blissey to recover, and in doing so, he gets a free switch to Skarmory to establish more spikes. So in the end, I do not see this as a good move, as if it does not gain much for me. He stays into Drill Peck, which is a smart move if I were to Focus Punch or do something weird. That's nice, as here I Fire Punch again. I think that's too safe. I think I should have predicted Tyranitar. Here I click Hidden Power Grass, as if I click Hypnosis and he clicks Pursuit, then I have the trouble of, by doing that, I'm risking getting no damage on the Tyranitar. This way, I guarantee damage on the Tyranitar. Also, I believe Hidden Power Grass to a KOing Tyranitar is a favorable roll, or at least about 50% perhaps, especially including the chance I get a critical hit. So, by clicking Hidden Power, I get to see the roll, and this roll is pretty bad. I believe that was possibly even min roll. So here I do not click Hypnosis, Hidden Power Grass again, because I do not believe keeping Tyranitar as low as possible with value, just simply weakening it a bit. So here I Hypnosis for the chance to maintain my Gengar. However, I get unlucky in the sequence, and my Gengar goes on down without his Tyranitar. Here I decide just Earthquaking is safe, and I really felt like he wasn't switching in. That's more of an intuition thing than anything else. As here I switch in Tyranitar, as I do not want my Blissey taking too much damage. Here, I switch in my Swampert. And here Blissey takes Spikes as I S-Toss, predicting Skarmory to switch in. I want to limit its HP. He proceeds to just stay in and Roar, which I do not quite understand. Here I get Aerodactyl in, and here I Earthquake as he protects. Now, had he got fully paralyzed on a Rock Slide, he would have just fainted. And I recognize how valuable this Skarmory is for him, so I didn't think he would risk this on something that I felt like was an obvious Rock Slide. And I feel like it's more likely he would switch into something like Jirachi than Flygon, because I thought he would be in the mindset that either I'm Rock Sliding or I'm Double Edging, because I know he's not toxic, so just Double Edging is fine and it catches Flygon. However, I thought he wouldn't consider Earthquake, or at least he wouldn't. He would end up deciding that I would not click it, and he would switch out into his Jirachi, which I thought would be Wish Protect. And that would be a relatively safe Aerodactyl switch-in. Instead, he clicks Protect, which I would not have done personally, but it's not particularly invalid. As here, he switches out to Flygon on my Earthquake again, expecting the same sequence. Here I send out my Swampert on the Flygon, and out comes Gengar. Gengar spells Trouble, I click Protect, and I do not want to risk a Grass move, which he does have. So here, I do not want to go straight to Tyranitar, as that spells Trouble, and I need to guarantee that I KO this Gengar. With all three of my spikes established and little purpose for my Skarmory, I decide that it is just best to switch it in, click Protect, and get a few Drill Pecks off, so that Tyranitar is more effective in taking on Gengar. Here he clicks Will-O-Wisp again, smart, as I Drill Peck, and I get a critical hit. This is definitely nice for me. And here I switch out to Tyranitar to preserve Skarmory as it can serve as a sack to wish up something something later on to get Aerodactyl in perhaps, though I don't see that being a very likely application. As here I could decide to click Pursuit. Crunch was also valid, I suppose, but I'd like to put some thought into that. So if I Pursuit, I do not KO it as it Giga Drains me. Now, obviously, Tyranitar's health is valuable, and then not only that, but you can also consider a potential critical hit from Giga Drain. So if I'm always expecting him to Giga Drain, and I do believe Giga Drain is the most likely move he can click, most likely move for a player to click, then I should be crunching. However, at the same time, if crunching is always the move, then he should always switch out. So, while I believe most players there in my position would Pursuit, most players in Rob's position would Giga Drain, or even if that weren't the case, I do think it's worth mentioning that turns like that, it's not invalid to click Crunch even though it's a greater risk. Because at the end of the game, end of the day, Pokemon is a game of odds. Nothing is concrete. Even ignoring luck, there's prediction and all of that. So I believe that it's worth noting that playing a bit aggressively, even if I'm arguably ahead in the game, and clicking Crunch there is a completely valid move. Especially considering that a Giga Drain crit and another Giga Drain would KO my Tyranitar. Anyways, Swampert comes in on a nice Toxic, and I proceed to refresh it off. Here you should be getting out of there, not risking a Toxic for my Swampert, as I click Surf, just to get some damage. His Zapdos cannot threaten anything, however he does PP stall my Swampert. If he chooses to Roar, then I get damage on it, and I can get potentially something like Aerodactyl out. He should not be staying in here, as Rock Slide is still possible. Actually, he elects to stay in, which I find interesting, as I crunch, and he rests. If I get a special defense drop, it's very nice, as Pursuit would be very threatening, or another Crunch if he chooses to stay in, but I do not, and he can simply make his way out to Flygon. Here I get a special defense drop, and I look to capitalize on that by clicking Crunch again. This is a questionable move, as Tyranitar is great for breaking, and I have Blissey Wish to keep it healthy, and with it this low, it might be troublesome to keep healthy, though with the Skarmory that I preserved, it is nice. Arguably, I should have switched, however, I do have trouble dealing with Flygon, and weakening it can bring me to an endgame, but something to note is I'm going to play this endgame passively. I already know that, and because of that, I'm not going to be taking many risks, and it's very likely that he heals up his Flygon. And if that's the case, then staying in was for nothing. So there's a lot to weigh there. However, Crunch is, I'd say, probably a valid move, and I do not need Tyranitar to win this game. I switch to Swampert safely. I can throw off Surfs. Here, I Surf again. And out comes Jirachi. I believe that it is a physically defensive spread. I played this a while ago, but it only makes sense. And that Surf would reveal it. Here I Roar. As he Sleep Talks, he gets rest. And Jirachi comes back out. I predicted him, I believe. I believe I predicted him to switch into Jirachi there, which makes sense. If Zapdos stays in, I would rather Surf, as Jirachi and Flygon are low, as well as Skarmory, and those are 3 Pokemon that I want to keep at a low amount of HP. Whereas Zapdos, I do not mind, however, he might not want to risk me roaring the Jirachi or surfing into the Flygon or Skarmory, making both Roar and Surf a valid move, I believe. But I roar in Jirachi, which is nice. Roaring in the Skarmory might be a bit worse, however, that also does open up for me to go guns blazing with Arrow, because Aerodactyl at that point, Zapdos is at 73, it risks Rock Slide, it hasn't burned its turns of sleep, and I mean Rock Slide even tears him apart. I don't need to click Double Edge because of how low the Flygon is. The Skarmory can't do much to me, and with the Jirachi low, if Skarmory were to be the one who healed up, then my Aerodactyl would be able to apply a ton of pressure just clicking Double Edge. If he switches into Jirachi, I can just send out my Swampert again and finish it off for good with a Roar. So all in all, that is fine with me, that positioning. Here he Ice Punches, going for a freeze. Respectable. It's his best way to get into the game. I'm going to speed this up, as this game takes a bit. Sleep Talks, Roar. Here I try to heal up, as he gets a fast Roar, so I'm unable to do so. However, I'm not in any rush, necessarily, to heal up my Blissey, as the only thing really forcing it in is Zapdos. Out comes Skarmory, which isn't great. I believe I make my way back out to Swampert, as it is little to no risk. Here I click Roar, as he roars himself, and with Jirachi healthy, why did I Rock Slide? Okay. Here I clicked Rock Slide, thinking he would go Skarmory as a mid-ground, as Double Edge KOs everything but Jirachi, and Earthquake would pretty much win me the game on the spot. Skarmory covers both of those moves without risking Zapdos, so perhaps that was a valid move. I looking back at this, probably would have Double Edged and accepted the damage on the Skarmory, given how nice that is. But yes, that's fine. Here I switch out to Swampert as it applies pressure on the Jirachi as he Ice Punches again, which makes sense as I Roar, really putting this Jirachi in danger as he protects, healing up his Flygon. So here my game plan is, or next step in my game plan is going to be KOing the Jirachi through spike damage. Here I Surf and get a nice Torrent Surf, doing a good amount of damage, and I can Surf again. Again, weakening the Flygon for Aerodactyl. Here I Protect, wanting that extra recovery. And here I decide he will not risk Rock Slide, and even if he does, I will not faint. So I get my Aerodactyl back into Double Edge. Here, he sends in Skarmory, because he wants to keep that Jirachi healthy, given how threatening it is. And with 25 and Double Edge damage, yeah, he would not be able to switch in that, I believe. I don't know if he would be able to take Double Edge or Double Edge into Seismic Toss. Here he instantly thaws, and as you can see in battle chat, I believe I was standing up when that happens, just jumping around as I do. I'm one of those people, I suppose, when I play Pokemon. I don't do it too much in real life, as it looks weird, but yeah. So here I get a Thunder Wave off on Jirachi, and here I look to heal up Swampert to roar this thing out, as my other counterplay to it involves clicking, my other counterplay to this Jirachi involves full paralysis, as here I Wish and go Skarmory. If he KOs me, then I can heal up my Swampert. If he does not KO me, then I can heal up my Skarmory, which perhaps holds some value, as it means more roars would have to be applied to KO it. Which means I can save the Skarmory sack for later. And it can also be a nice buffer into Flygon in this long game. And if this does not work out, ultimately I can get my Tyranitar into range of spike damage, and then Wish, and then sack off Tyranitar, allowing me to heal Swampert for free. So out comes Swampert. And I simply have to roar him out. Out comes Zapdos, which is excellent as it gives me more leftovers recovery. Not that Flygon was bad. Flygon also worked. And here I roar trying to get Jirachi in. Because Sleep Talk Fast Roar could be annoying for my Swampert's health. Here he Ice Punches again. Another chance at freezing me. And he does not get it, and I can roar. Here I Surf. Not quite sure why, but that's fine. Here I can roar. Flygon comes out. I Refresh, predicting the Protect. Seems pretty obvious, and my power points will be important. Here I believe I Surf to get that damage off. And here I believe I click Roar, as he does switch out and Flygon comes out. So that speeds up the process. Jirachi is now in range of any single attack from my team. Maybe not in Power Grass, but that will not come into play. Can refresh off Toxic, and Jirachi's finally gone. Out comes Flygon, switching out to Zapdos, trying to lure a Surf, trying to waste my Surf PP, but I call that out and I refresh, without risking doubling to Blissey on the spot. On a potential Earthquake, then leaving me open to Rock Slide, or if I don't Soft Boiled, then Zapdos and all that. Here I Wish, and I go straight to Swampert. The idea behind this move is I don't waste power points with Blissey, and I expect him to Sleep Talk, trying to pull out a Thunderbolt to KO the Tyranitar. However, it also gives me a chance for him to pull Roar and bring in Tyranitar with no risk of no risk of it dying. Here I do not want to risk clicking Rock Slide into Zapdos, as I think I'm so far ahead that risking a 90% chance is not for the best. Here I T-Wave it, and this is a bit long, so I'm going to put it in hyper fast. I will leave you to the birds unless something relevant happens. So, enjoy the game. On second thought, I think it would be better for me to give some more inspiration, just like mine at the beginning. Now, I'm not the most inspirational guy, so I'm not quite sure what to say. Oh, that is relevant. Okay, so here I Wish. He roars in my Aerodactyl. Now, he has switched numerous times against this Aerodactyl, and he is paralyzed. So, given that, you'll think, well, he has even higher odds to beat Zapdos clicking Rock Slide, because he is not risking, he's not risking a miss alone, because Rob Jr., even if I miss, has to break through paralysis. And seeing as he has consistently went Flygon, and I have a Wish in the air, I decided that I have to eventually go Tyranitar, especially because Zapdos Roar might eventually kill off my Tyranitar. So because of that, I elected to make the double to Tyranitar. And even if it goes south, even if he clicks Thunderbolt, then at the end of the day, I do not need Tyranitar to win. However, it is easier to do so with it alive. PP stalling continues, and I switch in Blissey. Here I click Soft Boiled, I believe. Perhaps I should have clicked Seismic Toss. And here I get another Wish in the air, trying to heal up Tyranitar. As he does not Sleep Talk, I believe he's at a low amount. He's at 7 according to this, and I have no pressure Pokemon. So he has 7 left, 6 now. And there I Focus Punch to not waste crunches. as crunches are valuable for hitting Flygon and for Spadef dropping Zapdos. However, in a case like this, with Flygon so healthy and Zapdos also so healthy, and the only way my Tyranitar breaks through being through special defense drops and pressure, mitigating the amount of PP I have, I believe that clicking Crunch there, fishing for a special defense drop, is not valuable. It's not worth it, because it's not getting me anywhere with the Zapdos so healthy, not forced to rest or anything. Because he can simply switch out to Flygon for free. Pokemon continues. I heal. He thunderbolts as I wish. And I get my Swampert up through his roar, and here I switch straight out to Blissey. I could have refreshed, perhaps. I believe. I'm not quite sure, actually. I believe I surf here, predicting Flygon, trying to get more lefties, and I refresh on the Protect. Here I click refresh again, predicting him to switch, and I surf. Out comes Aerodactyl, and I double out to Blissey, which I find a bit questionable, but it allows me to heal here. Granted, with Zapdos fully paralyzed, perhaps it's not as risky. And here I wish, and I do not need Blissey to win again. However, I'm doing the best I can to not have to risk Aerodactyl ever. Here I crunch again. A special defense drop would be nice. However, I get none. I believe here I click Focus Punch. No, I do crunch, because there is still pressure applied to him, given that he has to click Sleep Talk to move. Here I pursue, predicting a switch. Here I crunch again, I believe. And I believe I crunch again here, or... yes. However, he pulls Roar. And here I can double edge, and the Flygon's in range. So that's going to be the end to this long game. Remember to get out there and try in whatever your ambitions may be. This is the Montalisa signing.